John Boehner is out, and in comes Paul Ryan. Yes, what are your thoughts on Mr. Ryan, the effervescent cartoon character, in my opinion? This guy looks like Opie from the Andy Griffith Show. And he acts like him, too. Now, the interesting thing about Paul Ryan is that he doesn't necessarily have the best long-term relationship with the Obama administration. Certainly, he's had his moments where it's like, wow, it looks like this guy's actually speaking out against some of the things that Obama would try to put in place. We remember back to Obamacare. I've got the video, actually. I'll play here in just a minute, of him taking apart the Obamacare deal before it was passed, before we passed it to find out what was in it, and making Obama noticeably nervous on stage in front of Congress. But yet, when it came to Obama trade, this deal that sold out our sovereignty overseas for all intensive purposes, he strong-arms the deal through for Congress and once again makes friends with Obama. Very strange, this back and forth. Very strange, the back and forth for Obama himself. Seemingly on the fence where, at first he was the champion of the Democrats and then he champions the Republican Party with John Boehner at the head. Now Boehner's out, and the big question is, who's going to step up to bat? Of course, we've got infighting within the GOP that's making it very difficult to figure out exactly what's going on with that party. Are they going to put in a Paul Ryan? Are they going to have some balls and put in someone who's actually a conservative? Breitbart.com has the article from Howie Carr in Boston. The editorial page of the Wall Street Journal today has a big problem with talk radio. Once again, the media's leading flax for illegal aliens, and the non-Republican wing of the Republican Party, they say, are pointing the finger back at Rush Limbaugh, et al., for the ongoing turmoil in the GOP, as if it's his fault. Really, Rush Limbaugh is just doing what I'm doing here, what any other talk radio host is doing, is speaking their mind, using their free speech to rouse up the people out of their sleep and help them understand what's really going on behind the scenes in Congress, because, of course, the news channels that the drug companies and the Obama administration and so forth pay for don't really give you the full spectrum of what's going on. Full spectrum dominance over the media keeps the general population basically asleep as they sit there and listen to the drool. Rush Limbaugh is a refreshing gulp of water in a cesspool of slime and outdated coffee. It says it's all our fault, and I say our as a syndicated PM Drive radio talk show host with 25 affiliates, 8 of which are in New Hampshire. Every fourth year, that fact makes me a semi-big fish in the Granite State Pond, in which the Wall Street Journal's anointed candidate Juan Ellis Bush is being devoured. In case you missed it, the pom-pom-waving cheerleaders of the Wall Street Journal hissed on Friday that the congressional Republicans' current internecine feuding is the fault of the refuseniks. That minority in the GOP who spread the contagion, quote-unquote, the contagion apparently being the argument that the House Republican Conference should aspire to put more than merely serving as the tax collector for the welfare state, as Newt Gingrich once put it. And just to kind of give you the idea, you can look up the Wall Street Journal article that says, the headline, "The Republican Crack-Up." They're saying Paul Ryan might be the only man who can stop the GOP self-destruction. Ugh, gag. I want to completely regurgitate everything I've eaten all day long when I read something like this. Paul Ryan, this is the guy that's going to save us? How old is this guy? And how big are his ears? Can someone get a tape measure? No, seriously. How old is this guy? What is this guy's actual experience? Besides, it's like Marco Rubio. He had that one video after, I don't even remember, what was it now? Wasn't it after a football game or something where he's on television and he's championing the GOP in a very nationally televised video that he did of himself. This is the same thing with Paul Ryan. I feel like it's a guy who just happened to get the limelight, and they're running with it because he's a fresh face. He is a younger guy, and I suppose the GOP figures that if they have to kick out the establishment John Boehner, maybe they can plant their seeds in someone like Paul Ryan to continue to spread the turmoil around and continue to hide what's really going on in the Obama administration and push through all of their ordeals and their deals while they pretend like that's exactly what they're not doing. And that's really what's going on here. Like I said, let's remember, it's so interesting that that we have Paul Ryan back in the day taking apart Obamacare, and yet the headline on this Breitbart article from Charlie Spearing today says, Mike Allen says White House would like Paul Ryan as Speaker. Now, why would we want to put, after finally getting rid of John Boehner? I mean, I've spent years on this radio show cursing the name Boehner and begging the Republican Party to call up your senators, call up your congressmen, light up the phones and say, get rid of this jerk. You know, he's not helping anything, basically. We finally get him out of office. Why would we want to vote in the guy that's on national news as the White House's obvious pick? Okay, Politico's Mike Allen thinks President Barack Obama likes the idea of Paul Ryan for Speaker. Quote, the White House would like that idea, Allen said during an interview with Laura Ingraham on her show today, actually. Quote, because they would like one more win. What they've always told me is that they admire Paul Ryan for being a substantive, smart guy. He's a nice guy. Speaking to business leaders in Washington, D.C. last month, Obama acknowledged that his administration was working with Ryan to negotiate some level of tax reform, even though Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell disagreed. Quote, to his credit, Paul Ryan expressed real interest in discussions and negotiations, Obama said during his remarks to the Business Roundtable headquarters in September. But the administration's relationship with Ryan wasn't always so close, especially after he challenged Obama on health reform during a 2010 public forum. And that's my question. What happened to that Paul Ryan? Has he been bought out? Did things operate this quickly in Washington? Of course, we know that they do. They can operate very quickly for the right amount of money. And that's the real issue with all of these congressmen, with all of these representatives, quote unquote, with these senators, that they're, bought off very easily. They spend way too much time in office. Career politicians, we've talked about that before. We all know the problem with career politicians. Says Ryan's wonky numerical dismantling of Obamacare made Obama noticeably irritated during the bipartisan congressional conversation. His speech became a viral moment for the Wisconsin congressman among many conservatives. I've got that video right here. Take a listen.
On behalf of us.
Thank you. Look, we agree on the problem here, and the problem is health inflation is driving us off of a fiscal cliff. Mr. President, you've said health care reform is budget reform. You're right. We agree with that. Medicare right now has a $38 trillion unfunded liability. That's $38 trillion in empty promises to my parents' generation, our kids' generation. Medicaid's growing at 21% this year. It's suffocating states' budgets. It's adding trillions in obligations that we have no means to pay for it. Now, you're right to frame the debate on cost and health inflation. And in September, when you spoke to us in the well of the House, you basically said, and I totally agree with this, I will not sign a plan that adds one dime to our deficits, either now or in the future. Since the Congressional Budget Office can't score your bill because it doesn't have sufficient detail, but it tracks very similar to the Senate bill, I want to unpack the Senate score a little bit. And if you take a look at the CBO analysis from your chief actuary, I think it's very revealing. This bill does not control costs. This bill does not reduce deficits. Instead, this bill adds a new health care entitlement at a time when we have no idea how to pay for the entitlements we already have. Now, let me go through why I say that. The majority leader said the bill scores as reducing the deficit $131 billion over the next 10 years. First, a little bit about CBO. I work with them every single day. Very good people, great professionals. They do their jobs well, but their job is to score what is placed in front of them. And what has been placed in front of them is a bill that is full of gimmicks and smoke and mirrors. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, first off, the bill has 10 years of tax increases, about $500 billion, with 10 years of Medicare cuts, about $500 billion, to pay for 6 years of spending. Now, what's the true 10-year cost of this bill? In 10 years, that's $2.3 trillion. It does a couple of other things. It takes $52 billion in higher Social Security tax revenues and counts them as offsets, but that's really reserved for Social Security. So either we're double counting them or we don't intend on paying those Social Security benefits. It takes $72 billion in claims money from the Class Act. That's the long-term care insurance program. It takes the money from premiums that are designed for that benefit and instead counts them as offsets. The Senate Budget Committee chairman said that this is a Ponzi scheme that would make Bernie Madoff proud. Now, when you take a look at the Medicare cuts, what this bill essentially does, it treats Medicare like a piggy bank. It raids $500 billion out of Medicare, not to shore up Medicare solvency, but to spend on this new government program. Now, when you take a look at what this does is, according to the chief actuary of Medicare, he's saying as much as 20% of Medicare's providers will either go out of business or will have to stop seeing Medicare beneficiaries. Millions of seniors who have chosen Medicare Advantage will lose the coverage that they now enjoy. You can't say that you're using this money to either extend Medicare solvency and also offset the cost of this new program. That's double counting. And so when you take a look at all of this, when you strip out the double counting and what I would call these gimmicks, the full 10-year cost of this bill has a $460 billion deficit. The second 10-year cost of this bill has a $1.4 trillion deficit. And I think probably the most cynical gimmick in this bill is something that we all probably agree on. We don't think we should cut doctors 21% next year. We've stopped those cuts from occurring every year for the last 7 years.
Very upset while this is going on, by the way.
Doc fix. Well, the doc
and he's
fix,
saying a lot of great things,
some
things that
have
actually happened with this Obamacare situation. So, again, as we listen to this, what happened to this Paul Ryan?
Made it look like a deficit. That provision was taken out, and it's been going on as standalone legislation. But ignoring these costs does not remove them from the backs of taxpayers. Hiding spending does not reduce spending. And so when you take a look at all of this, it just doesn't add up. And so I'll finish with the cost curve. Are we bending the cost curve down, or are we bending the cost curve up? Well, if you look at your own chief actuary at Medicare, we're bending it up. He's claiming that we're going up $222 billion, adding more to the unsustainable fiscal situation we have. And so when you take a look at this, it's really deeper than the deficits or the budget gimmicks or the actuarial analysis. There really is a difference between us. And we've been talking about how much we agree on different issues, but there really is a difference between us. And it's basically this. We don't think the government should be in control of all of this. We want people to be in control. And that, at the end of the day, is the big difference. Now, we've offered lots of ideas all last year, all this year, because we agree that status quo is unsustainable. It's got to get fixed. It's bankrupting families. It's bankrupting our government. It's hurting families with pre-existing conditions. We all want to fix this, but we don't think that this is the answer to the solution, and all of the analysis we get proves that point. Now, I'll just simply say this, and I respectfully disagree with the Vice President about what the American people are or are not saying, or whether we're qualified to speak on their behalf. So we are all representatives of the American people. We all do town hall meetings. We all talk to our constituents. And I've got to tell you, the American people are engaged. And if you think they want a government takeover of health care, I would respectfully submit you're not listening to them. So what we simply want to do is start over, work on a clean shaded paper, move through these issues step by step, and fix them and bring down health care costs and not raise them. And that's basically the point.
Now, like I said, the big question is,
I'm going to call on Javier Becerra, but
what
I just
happened to this Paul Ryan that was willing to go in here and really take it to Obama and say, hey, you know, these are the issues. This is not what we're looking for. The people aren't going to be happy with this Obamacare. Breitbart continues by saying, but with Republicans in the majority, Ryan worked hard to find common ground with Democrats and prove that Republicans were ready to work together. Because it all comes down to when they shut down the government and these people weren't actually getting paid for a short period of time. They say, well, we don't want that to happen again, so we've got to make sure we can all work together to be able to get our money. That kind of work, it says, was celebrated by establishment Republicans and earned Ryan begrudging respect from the White House. Of course, if you're going to play ball with the White House, they're going to give you a leg up. The White House frequently refers favorably to the budget agreement Ryan reached with Senator Patty Murray in 2013 when Democrats still controlled the Senate. And if we want to take a quick glance back at that budget agreement reached was the article that came out of Politico back on December 10th in 2013. Representative Paul Ryan and Senator Patty Murray unveiled a 2-year budget agreement late Tuesday night. Again, this was back in 2013. That they say will end years of bitter budget wars on Capitol Hill. The framework amounts to a modest deal that averts another government shutdown. See, there it is. There's the key. Everything is averting a government shutdown. Paul Ryan comes in to Congress in 2010 with, great expectations, and, he's going to be the new face like Marco Rubio of the Republican Party, and he's really going to take it to the White House. But slowly over time, they hit him where it hurts, and that's in the wallet. And these senators get bought off, and they realize if we don't play ball, like I said, what's going to happen? They're going to shut us down. They're going to make my constituents think that I can't do my job. So I got to throw them a bone every once in a while so that my constituents stay happy. I stay in office. I keep writing my own checks. Everybody's fat and happy. But anyway, this shuts down, or this averts another government shutdown, replaces the sequester. I can't believe this. I can't believe it's been this long since 2013. But this is what we were talking about on this show back then. We were on Saturdays on Kinetic Hi-Fi. Provides a level of certainty on spending that hasn't been seen in Washington for several years, but it doesn't raise the debt ceiling, which Congress must address sometime next spring. Of course, Obama says raising the debt ceiling doesn't actually increase the debt, so obviously that's true, and we don't have to worry about it. We'll just keep raising the debt ceiling, no problem. And it's far from a grand bargain that overhauls entitlement programs or the tax code, an approach the negotiators refuse to entertain for fear of getting bogged down. This bipartisan package that Paul Ryan found a way to work with Democrats on included a $63 billion sequester relief, also $85 billion of total savings, supposedly, and $23 billion in net deficit reduction. The agreement would set the discretionary spending level for fiscal year 2014 at $1.012 trillion and $1.014 trillion in fiscal year 2015, kicking the can down the road, as it were. President Obama backed the deal, and Ryan and Murray predicted it would pass both the House and Senate, as they already knew they had the votes. Still, both lawmakers acknowledge that conservatives and progressives will find items they don't like in the package. So we go there with Paul Ryan. And from there, he has quite a few. And again, I'm just outlining all of the reasons why you should be just as upset about it taking so long to get John Boehner out of office as you should be that they're about to try to vote in Paul Ryan. And this is again the time when we the people need to be calling your congressman, calling Capitol Hill, and saying we're not going to stand for this BS. This guy is a jerk. He doesn't belong in office. Why would you vote him in? I mean, here's the thing. Número Sousa president Paul Ryan, terrifying, open borders seeps out of every pore of his being. That's another article, headline written by Julia Hahn at Breitbart. As donor-class Republicans and Beltway pundits intensify their draft Ryan campaign, anti-amnesty advocates are pleading with House Republicans. Please, for God's sakes, quash the candidacy of the man they call the most open borders member of Congress. The most open borders member. And keeping in mind, of course, that the borders are indeed open. There's been no movement towards actually shutting them down. The only thing that we've seen towards actually shutting our borders has been Donald Trump talking about building a wall. How ridiculous is it that we have to physically build a wall to once again secure our borders? I think people have forgotten how bad this immigrant problem is. Now they've moved on to how bad it is in Europe. That doesn't even really affect us. I mean, we're taking some of them. Yes, we don't want our allies in Europe overrun with refugees. I'm going to get to that as well. We've got videos today of extremely upset citizens over in Germany. Irate Germans attempt to block buses full of migrants, something that we saw happening down in Texas just, last year. People were showing up, protesting them, the immigrants being loaded onto buses, being shipped in the country at the order of Obama. Same thing now happening in Europe, because it's a plan, ladies and gentlemen. You see, it's a plan to bring down westernized, free countries by first collapsing the economy. Once they create that economical crisis, they can then pull you into tyranny, where they say, we have to bring in a new world order. We have to go to a cashless society because debt has amounted to a level that nobody can handle. And so we're going to need this one person to come in and lead us into the future. And it will be a tyrannical future outlined in prophecies in the Bible. You can read all about it. But the point is, this is the beginning of that framework that we see happening here. Open borders. It's just the start of it. Well, what do you think's actually going to happen? We're already seeing it happen. The loss of jobs. Debt like never before. People unable to pay for anything because of the loss of jobs. And the economical wheel here in America is simply stopping. And that's a whole nother story altogether. But this man, they're calling him the most open borders congressman in Congress, is what they call him here, okay? While these advocates, Julia Hahn writes, have largely refrained in the past from getting involved in House leadership scuffle, they have now issued an urgent warning for House members. They contend that Paul Ryan is an immigration extremist and point to historical records placing him at the center of a 1990-era corporate-led sabotage of immigration curbs, then sought by both parties. In an exclusive interview with Breitbart News, the president of the Immigration Control Group, Numbers USA, Roy Beck, described Ryan Paul as, quote, terrifying. And Roy says, quote, there's nobody in the Republican Party who could be worse than Paul Ryan. He has spent his entire adulthood ideologically connected to the open borders crowd. Open borders is in his ideological DNA. That's the terrifying thing. He's an ideologue and has spent his whole life working for those ideals. Open borders seeps out of every pore of his being. This isn't personal, it's just who he is. Ryan's ideological fidelity to Eric Cantor and also Representative Kevin McCarthy has been well documented. Of course, Kevin McCarthy is a Republican, so to speak, out of California. Also well documented is his intimate alliance with Congressman Luis Gutierrez, of course, the Democrat in Illinois. Also Representative Mick Mulvaney from South Carolina to complete Senator Marco Rubio as well, amnesty push, earning him Gutierrez's effusive endorsement for House Speaker. That's right, these are the guys who are pushing for him, and of course, these are the usual suspects that you seem to hear about the most these days. Vote for Paul Ryan is a vote for amnesty. Luis Gutierrez endorses Paul Ryan for Speaker. This also came out on October 9th. Luis Gutierrez is endorsing Paul Ryan for Speaker of the House of Representatives. Gutierrez, perhaps the most extreme open borders advocate in Congress, was interviewed on MSNBC. As CNN is now reporting, Democratic Representative Gutierrez on MSNBC called Ryan one of the smartest men in the GOP. He would be good for this country, quote unquote, Gutierrez says. He would be good for the Republican Party. Paul Ryan is the kind of individual that would work with people on the other side of the aisle, and that's what we need. You see, it's all about working with people on the other side of the aisle. And why is that? Why do they give a damn about the people on the other side of the aisle in Congress? The whole point is to debate those people so that we maintain our freedoms, to hold their ground. But these days, it's all about togetherness and working together and, being brotherly in Congress. You ever watched an old movie from American Revolution times, or talking about 1776 and these kind of things, and they show a town hall meeting? Were they being nice to each other? No, they're always yelling at one another. They're calling each other names, because that's how it was. They go over, they get into fights in these places, because you have, these people that come into Congress with their own ideals, with their own goals that they want to achieve, and they start pushing these agendas and so forth. And what you have to do is stop that. You have to stop ideologies that differ with the American standard, which is based off the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You have to debate that. You have to keep that from seeping into the framework of our country, as so many of these people would like to see have done. But these days, they all just want to get along, and so little by little, they're taking apart our Constitution. They're taking our guns. They're nationalizing health care now, trying to allow the UN to stipulate regulations for climate control. Total baloney, which is doing nothing more than completely shutting down the coal production, manufacturing industry here in America, which is detrimental to our economy, and people don't even realize it, because it's all about getting along. The UN's a good group of people. They might be bringing in the New World Order and damning us all to hell, but no big deal. We just want to be nice and get along with one another. Gutierrez, it says, has worked tirelessly to expand immigration levels and open America's borders up to the rest of the world. As Gutierrez once declared, "I have only one loyalty," quote, "and that's to the immigrant community." Now, why do we have a representative in Congress saying, literally, this is documented? I mean, this is actually came out of this man's mouth. He says, "I have only one loyalty." Only one. I only have one loyalty, and that is to the Lord Jesus Christ. And then second, to my family, my country, my countrymen. But Luis Gutierrez, no, this person has only one loyalty. And that, of course, is to the immigrant community. Can you believe this? How is this person getting elected to office? Except for the fact that maybe, just maybe, the Democrats in Illinois have no idea what's going on, or maybe they just don't care. Because he doesn't have loyalty to you, his constituents in Illinois. He has no loyalty to you. He says so himself. Gutierrez and Paul Ryan have been longtime partners on efforts to open Americans' borders. Indeed, Paul Ryan is arguably the most pro-amnesty GOP lawmaker in Congress, and even supports expanding immigration levels beyond many Democrats. Very interesting. But let's discuss Roy Beck in this interview he did exclusively with Breitbart. Explains is that Ryan has been at the center of efforts to open America's borders for at least the last 20 years, playing a starring role in several high-stakes immigration battles that altered forever the future of the GOP and also the nation. In the words of Bloomberg's John Heilman, who co-authored the book Game Change with Time Magazine's Mark Halperin, quote, "Ryan's ties to the pro-immigration mafia ran deep. A protege of Cesar Conda and an ally of Rick Schwartz, founder of the Pro-Amnesty National Immigration Forum, Ryan was the staffer who had aided Jack Kemp and William Bennett as well in their crusade against Proposition 187. The Washington Times also adds in a 2012 article that Ryan, quote, worked to water down the strict immigration limits in a bill Representative Lamar Smith, Republican out of Texas Republican, was working to pass in the mid-1990s. As a staffer in Washington, he worked for Jack Kemp and also Senator Sam Brownback, both of whom were part of the Republicans' pro-immigration wing and who fought crackdown efforts from within their own party. As a congressman, he voted for a 2002 legalization bill, praised the 2006 Senate immigration bill backed by Mr. Bush, and co-sponsored a 2009 Democratic bill that would have legalized immigrant farm workers. And these are just some of the things that Ryan has done over the last 20 years to push through immigration. But that's not the only thing. And I didn't mean to go off on such a long rant about Paul Ryan, but it makes me so mad. And it really does tie into so many different things here. Like I said, I want to get to climate change a little bit, as well as the, they call it the refugee issue in Europe rather than the immigrant crisis here in America, but it's really one and the same. And Paul Ryan really shows his stripes when he is found to be aiding and abetting this push to allow these immigrants into our country. And you can't call them immigrants. You have to call them illegal immigrants because they're not going through the proper channels of immigration, which all of our senators and congressmen have called broken, even though they're not. They're broken because they're not being followed by the federal government. If the federal government would simply follow the immigration regulations that are already in place, we wouldn't have a broken system, quote unquote. We wouldn't have floods of immigrants coming across the borders illegally. No. We wouldn't even have to talk about building a physical wall, which still blows my mind that the only way to rouse the interest of the people these days is to literally talk about building, the Great Wall of America down on the border. Can you believe it? Breitbart.com, Paul Ryan likely to strong-arm Obama trade deal as Speaker of the House. This is Alex Sawyer writing. Anyone voting for Paul Ryan for Speaker of the House should think twice when it comes to passing President Obama's trade agenda, as Ryan was one of the strongest advocates to grant Obama fast-track trade authority under the Trade Promotion Authority, the TPA. We talked about this extensively. And the thing is, it's kind of fallen to the wayside because there's so many other topics going on. But this is a major ordeal, a major turning point for anyone you're voting for as far as platforms go in 2016 election. And I noticed that no one's talking about it. But see, I think it's because the American people really still don't understand what the TPA is. Okay, this gives Congress only an up or down vote on a trade deal. All Congress can say is yay or nay. That's all they can do. They have no ability with TPA to issue any amendments, to have any formal regulation on the president. This basically makes the president a de facto dictator as far as that goes. As far as trade goes, I should say. I mean, the president's already doing whatever he wants to. We had just a couple of days ago the White House issuing press statements in the news. I mean, this was headline news about turning down the Second Amendment, about taking your guns. This goes directly against the Constitution, and yet the president pushing to do it through executive authority, once again, using that privilege as the president to totally demolish our Constitution, and our senators and congressmen doing absolutely nothing about it. Same as Obamacare. They do nothing about it. They don't even read the bill. Well, it's too long. I mean, it's going to take up too much of their time. The funny thing for me is that they're writing their own salary checks, and yet they then sit there and publicly announce that they don't read the bills, which is their job. That would be like me walking into work and saying to the entire group of people sitting in the office, I'm not going to do my job today. I'm going to go sit in the cafeteria and have some coffee and Danishes. Anybody that would like to join me, please, I'm going to be there all day. Because, I just have to sit here and eat a Danish in order to see how much work I actually have. This is what Congress is doing. They're sitting there saying, we have to pass this bill to see what's in it. We have to sit here and watch other people do their job to find out how much work we're not doing. You see, and this is what your tax dollars are paying for. These jerkbags sitting on Capitol Hill, publicly not doing their job. I mean, it used to be that they would do some work in Congress. As I was growing up, it's really been a downhill slope for Congress in general. And they'd sit there and at least pretend to pass bills. None of them were really of any consequence, but passing bills so it at least looked like they were doing their job. No, not anymore. Now we've reached that point, I guess, in 2015, it's just become acceptable. It's trendy, really. I mean, they want to get along with one another. So they've just decided to sip cognac and have cheese and crackers publicly instead of doing their job. And this is what Paul Ryan is strong-arming through Congress, is a trade deal which allows the president to just do all the work for them. I mean, why not? Look, he's already in office. He wants to do the job, you know. Why don't we just let him do the job? No big deal. He's the president after all. I mean, we could sit here and get our fat cat checks. I mean, by the time we're retired and have our bunkers and our mansions in the hills, I mean, we've got plenty of money to skip town if Obama was to make himself a dictator. So we'll just sit here and watch it all happen. He wants to do the job. We'll let him. That's what TPA does. Quote, "It should be deeply concerning to everyone should Mr. Ryan end up as Speaker, given his strident support for Obama's trade agenda," said Rick Manning, the president of Americans for Limited Government, who explained, quote, "The Speaker of the House should be a facilitator of this honest discussion, rather than a strong-arming advocate." Of course, that's what John Boehner was. And he did so through strong-arming tactics. I mean, it's been well documented, the blackmail and so forth that was going on in Congress to be able to push through all of these Obama White House deals and bills that John Boehner was able to facilitate. Earlier this summer, Breitbart News reported about the secrecy and controversy surrounding Obama's pending trade agenda, which includes the recently finalized Trans-Pacific Partnership, that's the TPP, which has already gone through, as well as the Trades and Services Act, TISA, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP. They have all these different acronyms, they have all these different budgets and deals that all work together. They need to pass them all for the whole plan, the whole agenda to be worked out to where we have no longer sovereign control of our country or who we're trading with, or our Congress is able to, keep us from shipping over large stockpiles of ammunition and weapons to Iran or Syrian rebels or ISIS or whoever. I mean, this is why Russia has had to come to the forefront now as actual terror hunters throughout our world, because Obama has pushed through, thanks to the facilitation that John Boehner gave, the ability to just ship over and trade whatever. I mean, trade also includes weapons, you understand. We're not just talking about trading wood and cheese and bread, okay? We're talking about trading weapons here, trading wealth to other countries who don't deserve it, who don't need it, and who shouldn't have it, okay? Like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, like ISIS and Syria and so forth. And that's why you see Putin shrugging his shoulders and rubbing his nose at Obama and publicly putting Obama down, because Obama has failed us as a president, has failed us as the champion of the country that goes after terrorists. What we're finding out now is that really we've been facilitating terror all this time. We've been arming, protecting, allowing it to operate. As Russia's come in here in a matter of days with some airstrikes and taken out a vast group to the point that they're saying that ISIS can't even operate in Syria now, okay, because they're just taking out, stronghold after, logistics area, heads of teams, so on. Breitbart News exposed the secretive nature of the trade deal, highlighting that it was being kept in a secured room on Capitol Hill. The press and the public are not able to review the list of the members of Congress that actually read the deal prior to voting on it. And in fact, members of Congress are not allowed to even bring their staff with them or take notes out of the room. The news organization also drew attention to the fact that part of Obama's trade deal contains a controversial immigration chapter located in the Trade and Services Agreement, which was leaked by WikiLeaks, that allegedly alters current U.S. immigration law. Very interesting. Breitbart's story on the secret immigration chapters made headlines as Ryan appeared on Fox News dismissing all of those reports. He actually cited it as unreliable. He says, and here's the quote, "Look, first of all, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Just let me give you a little tip. Second of all, this is why we need to pass Trade Promotion Authority. What we have in Trade Promotion Authority is a prevention of any immigration changes, of any climate change legislation going into a trade agreement. So by passing TPA, we're putting Congress in the driver's seat, which is transparency. Now, he's not putting Congress in the driver's seat of being able to do anything about it if Obama passes through something that's not good for the American people. He's putting them in the driver's seat in the sense that they can now clearly see what's coming. Whether they act on it or warn anybody or do anything about it is a completely different situation. But at least they can see it, they themselves, sitting there in Congress. They can see it out there in the middle of the interstate. They know there's a wreck. There's nothing they can do about it. It's much like a driverless car. You know there's a wreck coming, but there's nothing you can do to stop it. All you can do is wait for your impending doom. It's like passing it to see what's in it. And that's exactly what's happening here. Paul Ryan will run only after Republicans pledge unconditional support. Yes, here it is. This is on the Drudge Report from Politico.com. What it would take for Ryan to run. Paul Ryan has made it abundantly clear he does not want to be Speaker of the House. He enjoys the wonkery that comes with being Ways and Means Chairman and believes he'd lose that as ringleader of the unwieldy Republican conference. But there's one remote scenario, people close to him say, in which Ryan would consider abandoning his long-laid career plans and go for the speakership. If he was the true consensus choice of the party, that means no opposition, no snipping, no acceding to demands in exchange for support. Republicans, including the hardliners who pushed out John Boehner, convinced Kevin McCarthy to drop his bid for Speaker, would need to show they're prepared to follow Ryan unconditionally. There are some early signs that may be possible, says Politico, though the sentiment on the right about Ryan is not unanimous. Two leaders of the conservative House Freedom Caucus, Jim Jordan of Ohio and Mick Mulvaney of South Carolina, indicated over the weekend that they could be comfortable with the Speaker Ryan. Mulvaney said on CBS Face the Nation that Ryan would be a good speaker, quote-unquote, and Jordan said on Fox News Sunday that the 40-member caucus would look favorably on Ryan. This is why we need to call up the office of Mick Mulvaney, tell him he's out of his mind, and we will unseat him here in South Carolina if he goes through with his intentions to put Speaker Paul Ryan into position. Because this man has betrayed the American people. He's done so by lulling them into a false sense of security through Obamacare, but has really showed his stripes, as I've laid out and documented here tonight, with his intentions on TPA and also the immigration crisis. Conservative radio host Sean Hannity also says that Paul Ryan is not the legislator to be Speaker of the House. Quote, he says, is probably one of the nicest men you'll ever meet, but I don't think that the job's for him. You ended up getting rid of Boehner. You ended up getting rid of McCarthy. The dumbest thing you should do is stop there. Get the speaker that you want. Work to get somebody that will fight the fight you are looking to engage in, as we are coming to very unsettling times with the 2016 election that still sees Hillary Clinton supposedly in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. I can't imagine that Hillary is actually going to make it all the way to the presidential election. Can you? It blows my mind that they are continuing to probe the Clinton emails, and all it seems to be is a saga. One in which Clinton is laughing in the face of the American people. She knows what she did. She's done way more than Dinesh D'Souza, who has now served time. Way more than, I'm blanking on the general's name. But the one that got busted for leaking secrets or whatever to his girlfriend, she should be in jail. And yet it's just an ongoing saga of continued probing by the FBI, supposed probing. We don't really know what's going on, to be honest. I don't know what's going on. I have to say I have no idea if they are really looking into anything or if they're just drawing this out to maybe mask the fact that Biden's actually going to come into play in this election. They're saying he's a game day decision for the Democratic debate. I mean, like I said, how is it that they get away with these kind of antics, these kind of tricks? Shouldn't Biden have already decisively said whether or not he's going to be in this debate? The Washington Post has an article today. Clinton confidant expresses regret over handling of email issue. Yeah, they regret it. It doesn't mean that anything different is going to be done. It doesn't mean that anything's going to be decided. But they certainly can come out publicly and say they regret it, and then suddenly everything's okay. Cheryl D. Mills, who served as Clinton's chief of staff while she was Secretary of State, says she regrets not thinking more closely about how her boss would handle her email as Clinton was entering the cabinet in 2009. But here we go. Now we're getting this is the apologetic HR department answer to the Hillary Clinton scandal. She's come out. She's joked about it. We remember how Clinton was on video joking about the, what is it, Snapchat or whatever? She says she loves Snapchat because those disappear automatically. Meaning that if her emails had only somehow disappeared automatically, we wouldn't have found out about her criminality, which this is just, the icing on the cake of a long list of things that Clinton could be incriminated for but never will be. But yet she's publicly joking about it, and now we got to have her staff come out and say, yeah, we really should have thought about that. But, what are we going to do now? Mills, a longtime advisor to Clinton, by the way, like I said, this is the Washington Post, who also serves as one of her personal attorneys, said relatively little thought was given to Clinton's use of a private email account while she was the secretary, an issue that is now dogging the Democratic candidate's presidential campaign. If there's anything I could ever do that would have alleviated this level of attention, certainly I would have wished I could have, Mills said in a rare interview. Look, she says, quote, I'm human. I mean, what am I going to do? Huh? What am I going to do? I'm human. Mills, 50 years old, has been a member of the Clinton inner circle since she served in the White House counsel's office under then-President Bill Clinton, who has been a central figure in the email story. It was Mills to whom the State Department first reached out in July 2014 to inquire about gathering Clinton's emails from her time as secretary. Mills, who has also worked as a personal attorney to the Clintons, helped oversee the process by which the Clinton emails were sorted into work correspondence to be released to the State Department and personal notes to be deleted. But Mills said she did not recall having conversations with the State Department's legal advisors nor with the agency's technology staff about the issue. Quote, I wish there had been a lot more thought and deliberation around it, but I can't tell you that I can offer that insight that there was there. The next nightmare, though, for Hillary Clinton, this is something I want to get to as we push forward quickly. So much to go over. And by the way, I don't even think I've introduced the show. Good Lord, I just hit the ground running today. This is actually the first live broadcast on RockyD.com of the Sit and Spin radio show. We're so glad that you've decided to join us here tonight, actually. We're going to be doing this Mondays on Rocky D from 7 to 9 p.m., and then Friday evenings on KineticHiFi.com, connected at the hub, but different websites altogether. So I was doing pre-recorded shows on Rocky D, Mondays and Fridays, 1 to 3, directly after the Rocky D show. But it works out a lot better. I work during the day, so the pre-recorded thing was getting to be a bit of a bear for me to try to do. It's much easier for me to come on live and just do the show as is, live on the air. I like doing live radio much better. The pre-recorded thing was fine, except that it was always yesterday's headlines. So we decided to go live with the show now. It'll be the return of the live Sit and Spin show to KineticHiFi.com this Friday evening from 7 to 9. I've been off of Kinetic for a while, doing the pre-recorded podcast on Rocky D, doing school, doing quite a bit of traveling here recently. So Drew Howard, my co-host on Saturdays for the weekend Sit and Spin, has become unavailable on that morning time slot over the past year now. So we had to make a change. I went to doing the show solo and went to doing pre-recorded shows because, again, I work during the day. had school going on. It was very difficult to come on and do a show. I finished school now. So I told Boyd the other day, look, I want to go on. I want to do the live show. My schedule is much more conducive to doing a nighttime time slot. So we found one that works for me. Mondays and Fridays, that's where you can catch me for the Sit and Spin radio show. I am your host, Nick O'Kelly, and we'll be doing it now for the foreseeable future. But WND.com has had some interesting information about a new nightmare for Hillary Clinton. Gennifer Flowers has re-entered the stage right. That's right, first time since Hillary Clinton announced her candidacy for president. Bill Clinton's notorious mistress for 12 years, Gennifer Flowers, is now speaking out, calling Hillary's bid to run in part on women's issues, quote-unquote, a joke. No question. I mean, Hillary herself is something of a demon. I think we can say that. The Clintons have a very long history of a criminal record, what I would call. It's well documented. You can check it out. Go to Infowars.com. They've got a interview with Larry Nichols. You can Google Larry Nichols' interview on Infowars, and it'll come up. Very interesting. Used to work on the staff for Bill Clinton. Saw it all right there in the midst of it, and I dare say that Gennifer Flowers as well, another one that has seen it all from the Clinton campaign, from the Clinton saga. The Clintons who run the Obama presidency, make no mistake. It says in the wide-ranging interview on the popular Sunday night program, quote, Aaron Klein Investigative Radio, Flowers further accused Hillary of being, quote, an enabler that has encouraged Bill to go out and do whatever he wants to with women. She's always got things on the back of her husband. I think it's a joke that she would run on women's issues. Flowers used the interview to drop a few bombshells, including revealing for the first time that she has something incriminating on Bill Clinton locked in a safety deposit box. This is how I'm assuming she's managed to stay alive all these years. Mysterious content she said the Clintons know that she possesses, and that she used to ensure her safety. Flowers said she believes the issue of Bill Clinton's former lovers is a legitimate discussion that should return for Hillary's 2016 campaign. Our stories, quote-unquote, should come back up with the circumstances with Hillary running. It should come back to the forefront again, she said.
Don't you care about civilians?
You can take a listen here
and makes the news.
The interview that we just did on this program
to the interview I have with Aaron Klein. Evidently, we don't have it queued up.
Now, live from Tel Aviv.
But take a listen. This is a long interview. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Just a couple of minutes here as host Aaron Klein discusses the Clintons with Gennifer Flowers. Take a listen.
Aaron Klein.
Now, for those of you who are longtime listeners to this radio show, you know that I constantly complain. I say, where is the news media? Where are they? Why are they not doing any real independent investigative reporting? But actually, it happens to be that there are some advantages, really, to being one of the only real investigative reporters in America. I'm not the only by far. There are others, and they do excellent jobs, but there are few of us. So because there are few of us, because there are so few people in the news media doing the real investigating, so it happens to be that therefore, just do the mathematics, we happen to be the people, really, who can set some of the agenda, who can set some of, let's say, the conversation in America when it comes to certain things, and especially when it comes to the elections. For example, remember back in 2008, it was actually me, believe it or not. A lot of people don't know this. I was the one who broke the story from 5,000 miles away, which is a story within itself. I mean, why is it me, Aaron Klein, in Tel Aviv, Israel, who was doing this kind of digging? Where was the Washington, D.C. press corps? I wish that it was the American reporters who did this, but it wasn't. It was me, who and some others, but we're looking into this unknown contender from Chicago, and I was actually the first one to report. And when I found it, I couldn't believe, by the way. I remember, before I put the article out, I did a Google News search. I searched the words Barack Obama, Bill Ayers. And I couldn't believe nobody ever reported on that connection. So, of course, I put
just
it out,
to correct him
and as
here,
you remember, it became...
that was reported on
I didn't even
Infowars.com.
understand, by the way, at the time, when I reported it, how big it would become. Literally, one of the top themes of the 2008 presidential elections. Then also, if you remember, back in 2008 on this radio show, Hamas, Hamas to this day is a regular, many members of Hamas, including the chief of Hamas in the Gaza Strip and others, come on my show regularly. So during one of the regular interviews that we were doing back in 2008, one of the chiefs of Hamas literally endorsed Obama for president. And what was amazing is I didn't even ask him any question about Obama. He went off on this unknown candidate from Chicago. And then I couldn't believe it. It literally made world headlines and yet again became another theme of the 2008 elections with the different candidates bringing it up. And actually, thankfully, prompting some people at least to kind of take a step back and say, wait a minute. Why would Hamas endorse Obama? Why would Hamas endorse this unknown candidate? Of course, fast forward to 2015, and I think now we understand exactly why an arm of the Muslim Brotherhood would have seen something in the rhetoric seeping out of that candidate. So, okay, why am I mentioning all of this? Because I want to introduce the guest that is coming up in just a minute or two, and it's going to become a major story in the election. And actually, that's
all right,
just it.
Guys, can we skip ahead?
I realized that in the last few months, my radio show.
I didn't mean to put this on. I don't want to play the whole thing there. I just want to hear him talking to Jennifer Flowers. Aaron Klein, you can look up his work, investigative journalist, but nevertheless, we want to skip ahead to where he's,
or at least of Hillary's henchmen doing
maybe
this.
talk. Here we go. Okay, this is good. We'll start here. Take a listen. He's got Jennifer Flowers coming up,
with that
where
in
she
mind,
drops her bombshells.
Earlier today, I recorded an interview, an exclusive interview, the first time that she has spoken to the news media since Hillary Clinton announced her presidency, and actually the first time that she has spoken to the news media in years. And I'm talking about with Jennifer Flowers. Now, Jennifer, of course, is, I would say, in fact, the UK Daily Mail described her recently as the most famous mistress in America for having a 12-year, and actually she corrected me, Jennifer, a 14-year relationship with Bill Clinton. So without further ado, here is my interview that I recorded earlier. And again, I think this is very relevant for 2016, and actually Jennifer agrees with me in this interview. Take a listen. This is a world exclusive. Everyone has been waiting all day for this interview. So here it is. And actually, before that, let me just say, I was pleasantly surprised by Jennifer Flowers. I heard a lot, in the news media about her. I had preconceived notions about her because of the news media. She was nothing like the way the news media has portrayed her over the years. And actually, she dropped some major bombshells that I did not know were coming, and they came organically in this interview. Here it is. Take a listen. Joining me right now is professional singer, actress, and model of Jennifer Flowers. Jennifer Flowers, very famous in America, has not spoken to the media in a long time. Jennifer Flowers, welcome to Aaron Klein Investigative Radio.
Aaron, it's so good to be with you. Finally connecting. I have a lot of respect for you and your show.
Thanks so much. And I'll tell you, you and I have been corresponding. You emailed me, and you said that you are writing a book, a forthcoming book, for possibly next fall. What prompted you? Because you have been quiet for a long time. You stayed in the background. What is prompting you to write this book? Why now, and what is it about?
Well, first let me say this, and we'll get to those questions. For the last 4 years, I've spent a great deal of time with family. My stepfather will be gone now. He's passed away 3 years ago this coming January. Mm-hmm. And I came to be with them while he was very sick because my mother needed me. I'm an only child. And he passed, and then about 3 months later, my mom fell and had to have brain surgery.
Oh, wow.
So, but she's doing great. She's 86 years old, and I'm with her now. So my focus, for, like I said, about the last 4.5 years has been on my family. I've been talking about the Clinton subject for a number of years, off and on. And, just didn't feel compelled to really want to talk about that much yet. Certainly, I've been observing what's been going on. The book, it occurred to me one day, I'm literally driving in the car and thinking about things, and it occurred to me, Jennifer, people really don't know you. Most people don't, of course, unless they know me personally or, went to elementary school with me. They know my background and my professional history in the entertainment business, but most people don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that, by the way. I mean, you and I were talking just before we went on the air, and I asked you how to introduce you. Clearly, everybody knows you from the Monica Lewinsky scandal, not from your own relationship with Bill Clinton. But no, there's so much more to you, you're saying, and that you want to present in this book.
Exactly. I just thought
Okay, the video has decided to completely tape out on us. Come on, guys, really? This is what I'm talking about. You have these videos, and right in the middle of it, they place an ad. So it's just like they're laughing at you here as we finally. First, we didn't have it marked correctly, and then they put an ad right in the middle of it. I do want to play some of the things that she's got to say, so we'll get right back to it.
Wouldn't have put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I did a book. I had a book out in 1995.
Yeah, I saw that on Amazon.
That was a couple of years before Bill actually made an admission of me. And certainly there have been a lot of things occur since then. And like I said, the other goal was to have people know who Jennifer Flowers really is. Because I'm a real person that's worked hard in my business as a professional singer. I made my first record when I was 11 years old with United Southern Artists. So, I have a very interesting life before and after the Clinton scandal.
Do you have a name for the book, a title yet, maybe? Because I love the one you emailed to me.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm thinking about that title, but of course I have to and want to engage a publisher. I've spoken to a couple, and I really wasn't satisfied with the terms, so I have not made a decision about who I want to work with as a publisher. But I have a kind of a quirky, personality and a big sense of humor. In fact, in my show, and I do stage shows, I use a lot of humor. Like I tell a story about running into Monica Lewinsky, and I said, Monica, I haven't seen or heard from you in a long time. How are you doing? She said, well, Jennifer, I'm doing really good. And she said, and just recently, I made a really big decision that I want to share with you. And I said, well, great. What's going on? And she said, I've changed parties. I said, okay, let me get this straight. You went from Democrat to Republican. And she said, oh, yeah. And I said, well, why would you do something like that? She said, because those Democrats left a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh, no. I love it.
Just a little innuendo there. That's what my humor is all about. It's all about the parody.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it here for a minute because we have to go to a commercial break. Let me just say...
All right, very good. So you'll be able to get the book from Jennifer Flowers. Flowers also used the interview to announce she's putting the finishing touches on that book. In a subsequent email to Klein that the radio host got permission to read on air, Flowers wrote the tentative title for her forthcoming book is Men Are Like Pantyhose, Some Fit in the Crotch, and Some Don't. So anyway, you can check out Aaron Klein, Investigative Radio. It's broadcast on New York's AM 970, The Answer, and also News Talk 990 AM in Philadelphia, or of course online. But in January of 1992, the Star tabloid outed Flowers as Clinton's mistress. 3 days later, Bill and Hillary Clinton appeared side by side on 60 Minutes, where Bill completely denied the relationship. But afterward, Flowers played to the news media tape recording she had secretly made of private phone calls with Clinton. She told Klein she still has not fully released all the tape recordings. In his presidential deposition in 1998, Bill Clinton admitted he had a sexual encounter with Flowers while denying sexual harassment accusations by the White House aide Kathleen Wiley. During her exclusive interview with Klein, Flowers said of the Clintons, quote, I find with Bill and Hillary, it's never surface. I think that whatever seems to appear, There always are about 3 or 4 layers underneath that's really the facts. And that really is how it goes with Hillary Clinton, which is why it's so interesting to me that she's still on the main stage for the Democrats, for the Democratic Party. Trump has some interesting opinions about Hillary Clinton. He says he thinks she's being protected by the Democrats. Trent Baker at Breitbart says GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump spoke on Saturday's Justice with Judge Jeanine on Fox News Channel about the upcoming Democratic presidential debate. Host Judge Jeanine Pirro asked Trump what he thought candidate Hillary Clinton should be asked during the debate, and Trump replied by saying he feels like Clinton will not be asked things she should be because the ones investigating her are Democrats, and that she is, quote, protected by the Democrats, even though her scandals are a disgrace to the country. We can hear part of that video here as well. We need to hurry on because I do also have an interview with Matt Drudge. Take a listen.
Bergdahl should be executed. Now you hear about this. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a disgrace. He was a deserter 100%. I know you agree with this. And he was a deserter 100%. It's not like the old days. In the old days, you deserted, you were in big trouble. Today they want to find all sorts of excuses. I don't know what. It's crazy. It's just crazy. What's going on with our country is absolutely insane. 5 good, great soldiers, wonderful young people, and probably 6 were killed looking for him.
Right.
And now, what do we get? We get him, which you can have him. We get him, and they get 5 of the great killers that they wanted for 10 years. They've wanted these people back. So this is a typical trade with Obama. We get Bergdahl, and they get 5 killers. No good.
Well, and reports are that, maybe 5 were killed looking for him, although that hasn't been confirmed. But look, I want to talk about you now. If you are hands down still the front runner, 32% of Republicans support you, you're on top, and yet you get the New York Times suggesting that you're looking for an exit strategy. What do you say to them?
Well, I think it's disgusting. I read that story. I'm leading every poll, every state. A tremendous poll just came out today in New Hampshire where I have an 18-point lead, and I get the Times. And if you read the story, it's fun. It's just a headline like, oh, gee. And, they asked, what would it do to get you out? And I said very simply, hey, look, if the world was coming down, the polls were terrible, everything was terrible, if I thought I couldn't win, but right now I'm in first place. So they do a story that, maybe he would consider. It's frankly a disgrace that they're allowed to report it. It's really disgraceful. I spoke to them. I told them I'm not leaving. And certainly, whoever heard you leading in every poll by a lot? I mean, we're not talking about little. You have the polls, I assume, in front of you.
Yes.
But we're leading by a lot, and they do a story. I wonder if someday Trump may leave.
Yes.
The answer is I'm not going anywhere. We're going to make this country great again, Jeanine.
Well, and you know what, Donald? You said in reaction to what's going on in the Republican Party in Congress right now that you would be okay with Paul Ryan as the speaker, but you need someone smart and tough and someone like you. Now, who are the other people that you think can straighten things out, and why do you think they're in such a mess?
Well, I like Paul. I didn't say I'm okay with him. I said that he would be somebody that a lot of people seem to think is a compromise candidate. I don't know that he wants to do it. I like him personally, but I'd like to see somebody very tough, very smart.
Like whom?
And you can hear how they twist his words there, because clearly
frankly, I spoke to one person
not
that really
advocating for Paul as the speaker.
I don't think
but yet they want to twist it that way because that's the new headlines.
Tough. I think he could unify. You have to get somebody also that can unify a little bit, because that is like a den of lions in there. And they have to focus on the Democrats, not on themselves. I mean, that's one of the problems. But I'd like to see somebody very tough and very, very smart.
All right, let's talk about Ben Carson. Now, he's been saying some controversial things this week, Donald, and he's getting a lot of attention. He's polling second. You worried about him?
No, I'm not. I think he's a really nice guy, but I'm absolutely not. And I'm leading by a lot. And, frankly, Ben has been very nice. He did say one bad thing, and he took it back. And I was all set to go, Jeanine. Everyone I've gone after is gone. I mean, they're either gone or they went down to nothing. I was all set to go, but he was really, he did a very right thing. He did the right thing, and he took it back. And honestly, he's been very nice to me. I've been very nice to him.
Well, okay. Let's talk about the DNC debate on Tuesday. What should Hillary be asked at this debate?
Well, I have a feeling she's not going to be asked a lot of the things she should be. I know your stance on the emails, and you know exactly what's going on there, and it looks to me like she's protected by the Democrats. You know, she's protected by the fact that all of these people that are looking at her are Democrats and they don't want to do anything. You know, Petraeus' life was destroyed. Other people, their lives were destroyed for doing 5% of what she did. With the servers and everything else that's going on in her life, I just don't understand how this continues to go. In the meantime, I've been sort of saying they'll probably leave her alone because it's a disgrace to the country, but it's politics, and unfortunately that's the way it works. I think that she will probably make it only for that reason, Janine, only for that reason.
All right. What about Bernie Sanders? Now, Donald, you are the ultimate capitalist.
Okay, and we'll cut it
Bernie
there.
Sanders is the...
Very interesting idea that Hillary Clinton would be protected by the Democrats, but certainly it does seem to look that way when you have such a huge scandal. I mean, Bill Clinton scandalized for sexual affairs. I mean, this is actually leaking secrets. This is actually major, and not only that, perjury at this point, too, because she's publicly saying that she hasn't done anything wrong. President Obama has now refused to stand up to defend Hillary Clinton as she continues to twist in the wind over questions about her private email server. This is Charlie Spearing writing, Obama turned down opportunities from interview Steve Croft on 60 Minutes to defend Clinton, instead describing the controversy as, quote, legitimate. Quote, this is one of those issues that I think is legitimate, Obama said, before weekly adding that it was an indication that we're in presidential political season. In recent weeks, the Clinton campaign has tried to paint Republican-led investigation as a partisan witch hunt and not the result of serious wrongdoing. When Croft asked if he agreed with Clinton whether or not the email scandal was a big deal, Obama replied, quote, well, I'm not going to comment, and encouraged Clinton to answer questions about her email, quote, to the satisfaction of the American public, anything to take the spotlight off of him. You know, she made a mistake, Obama says. She has acknowledged it. He added lightly that he didn't believe that she was trying to purposefully hide information or put national security in danger. She's not trying to do it, but she is. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get to, it looks like, global warming. Have a couple of articles about some change of heart from some scientists and so forth. I think we're going to skip that because I do want to air the interview with Matt Drudge that Alex Jones did. Very interesting. Matt Drudge showed up on the set of Infowars.com just a couple of days ago and had quite a few things to say about the current political landscape, about gun control, about the media at large. Always very perplexing, very polarizing when Matt Drudge actually speaks out publicly, and he's done so as well in the past couple of days. I want to put this out on the airwaves. It made national news. It was all over the place. If you don't look at the Drudge Report daily, you should. I do. That is where people get their talking points from. Everywhere from this show to Rush Limbaugh to Fox News, Drudge Report sets the talking points on a daily basis on a wide scale for national media. So take a listen here as Matt Drudge offers up his opinions of what's going on in the world today and where we're headed. You're listening to the Sit and Spin Radio Show, and this is an interview with Matt Drudge.
I'm sitting there during that 70-second break, and Matt Drudge rounds the corner over here, and it was just like total and complete deer in the headlights, and I'm still double-taking here. And then he's hiding over there in the shadows right now. I'm not kidding. They're going to say this is another conspiracy theory. And we got Anthony Gucciardi. Is Matt Drudge over there? He is over there. Come on, just for a second to give the national media a heart attack. Can you just walk over here behind the stage? They're not going to believe it. No, see, it's right around this way.
I haven't had one photo in 8 years.
I know you haven't had one photo in 8 years. All right, I'm going to turn the mic your way. They can do voice print. Is this Matt Drudge? Uh-oh. I know. Okay, it's made up. It's a stunt. April Fools came early. What, how many months early? 5 months early? April Fools, folks, I fooled you. Well, am I supposed to go to rebroadcast now that you're here? Because you get to hang out with my crew and I'm on the air. This is like diabolical. Oh, my gosh. Anyways, no, seriously. Do you think folks are going to believe Matt Drudge was here?
Probably. I don't even believe he's here.
I didn't believe it, only because it was like such short notice. It was like, boom. I remember years ago, well, anyways, I'm not going to get into it. This is crazy. All right, well, I'm not going to be aggressive and turn the lights on over there and aim the document cam over there, but Matt Drudge came in, said hi to me, thought it was a 3-minute break, and then went over there. I'm definitely going to have to play a clip or something. Do we have one of those special reports coming back from the next break? All right, this is now entered complete Twilight Zone. Hey, but we got a new article up on InfoWars. Obama arms ISIS militants, pushes gun control on very same day. Obama authorizes resupplying Syrian opposition on same day he demands gun control against American citizens. And, of course, I was covering this Breitbart article a lot that I missed. I miss stuff all the time. I mean, I knew they were doing this, but I didn't know they were actually openly doing it. Obama administration and UN announced global police force to fight extremism in U.S., and then we've got all these callers that want to talk to me. You know, Matt has hosted the Drudge Report show for so long, but also Rush Limbaugh. So I would imagine he could come over here and actually host the show for us, except he's not really here. What if we put a microphone into the darkness coming out of the break, and folks can do a voice print analysis to see if it's Matt Drudge? He's not going to do it? I'm telling you, this is so classically reclusive. I wish I could do that. He is back there right now.
It's taken a lot of work to get to this point.
I know it's taken a lot of work to get to this point. I admire you. Maybe I should become reclusive. Huh? He's a big guy. In good shape, too. I was like, man, who is that big guy? Who is that? I recognize that guy. Who's that with him? I was like, oh, my God. What did I look like, Buckley, when he walked in?
Flabbergasted.
I mean, I literally was like, who is that? You are something else, man. God, I tell you, he's got a lot of class the way he pulls stuff off. I'm kind of the opposite, like a bull in a china shop, a loose cannon. Anyways, I was already super wound up today. I've already had too many DNA forces today, and this has now just pushed me over the edge. I need some Jack Daniels, Buckley, immediately. I'm sure. I've not been drinking since last Thursday. I've been being a good boy. And I've been being nice, but I tell you, I may have to. I don't have any, what do you call them, tranquilizers. But I think I need a tranquilizer dart or something. All right, folks, we'll be right back. No, seriously, because I'm starstruck right now. This is crazy. And the way he did it is even worse. And then it's going to be even worse when they have, like, some major establishment White House-driven publication saying I made it all up. So we we can't get a photo for Twitter. What are we going to do? The suspense is deafening. DrudgeReport.com, you can read up there where this guy put stuff on his Facebook, the supposed shooter, about how he just had so many pills he was on, psychotropics, lithium, and other things, that he ended up just taking 5 at a time. So the question is, was he on meds? And the answer is, does a bear, do different things like jump rope in the woods? We'll be right back. All right, folks, Alex Jones here, back live, well into the third hour. I did not do this as a stunt, neither did Matt Drudge. He is here. We got a hot mic over there. He wants to stay literally in the shadows behind a curtain. But this is the king of being able to push a story out and make it the #1 story in the world. They even admit that in the New York Times, that he has more readers on politics and news than Facebook, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, LA Times put together. He's got some of our stories where the shooter himself said he was on a bunch of drugs. He's linked to that today. And that's the story they don't want out there, or the story where CNN took a mixed-racial Christian hater and turned him into a right-wing white supremacist and turned him white. They don't want people knowing that, but Matt Drudge and his great crew can link to alternative stories, foreign stories, mainstream stories, photos, mugshots, and really just focus on what Matt Drudge thinks is interesting. And the public tends to agree with him that what he focuses in on is really catching the zeitgeist or the pulse of the people. So he might have 50 links every day where Facebook has 500 million, but he has more traffic. That is the true David versus Goliath story. And this is not scripted. I have no idea where I should go. Matt Drudge, I guess you're here for ACL, or why are you in Austin, Texas?
Well, you were just talking about Facebook, and thanks again for having me here. I'm not on Facebook. I don't do the socials. I've got that little Twitter thing. Even that's kind of disgusting. I've been doing the internet as long as you've been doing this radio show, Alex. Literally every day, as you have. literally every day, practically. I think you've taken a little more time off than I have, actually.
Yes, I've kind of gone.
And I can't say that about many people because you are a peer without peer. And I'll tell you, I was there before Facebook. I was there before CNN.com. I was there before mostly all of them. I have a very clear perception what the internet is. In my mind, I'm free. I'm not defined by what they say the internet is. Meaning Goldman Sachs, meaning who they invest in for the latest startup, meaning the latest BuzzFeed or Salon or Gawker. Well, Gawker's more independent. But there's a lot of corporate makeover of the internet that I have not adapted to. Simply put, I'm friends with some of them. When I go to New York, I make the 6th Avenue rounds, but I am not a part of that system. I am a free thinker. I'm an American. I'm very concerned with what's happening. So I just give it my all. I've learned how to take care of myself and detach from outcomes because otherwise you can't survive. And I don't know where you are on that topic. I just follow my instinct because they always tell us how to adapt to be successful, but really we're just adapting to their mindset to be their slaves. I don't.
No, you don't.
I have remained completely independent from all of them. All of them. I am not influenced by any of them. I need no traffic from Google. I don't care if I get one traffic referral from Google or Bing or Yahoo or any of these others. It's always been that way. Now, if you think of that setup, how rare that is, because everybody's so hungry for referrals, for likes. I don't need to be liked. I don't need to be liked at all. I don't care if there's a button right there at the top of Drudge saying like or dislike. Thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't mean anything. Now, I hope that you come. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to like what I have up there. Now, where I've had a lot of success is I'm getting people from both sides of the aisle. They've always said, he's a right-wing gossip monger, mainly because of Lewinsky in those years, which, by the way, are back. Why aren't we seeing Hillary's lovers? Excuse me. Why aren't we seeing Hillary's lovers?
It's a good question.
Where's the cover-up on this? So many issues that are suppressed on a daily basis. So that's what I try to do every morning.
Incredible. Well, it's amazing to have you here in Austin, Texas. And I tell you, you certainly know how to make an entrance. I'm in a 70-second break, and I turn around, and there's Matt Drudge, just boom. I tell you, I almost had a heart attack, a good one. My cousin said he's never seen me look like that. What was the word, Buckley, you used? No, it's flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted. You used the word flabbergasted. Well, I tell you, this is like the biggest Christmas present early ever because I just admire true independence. And I got to tell you, Matt, and you know this with your crew, and Congress knows this, we wouldn't have won some of these gun battles, some of these border battles, some of these energy battles, and we've lost some too, but we would have lost so many of them if it wasn't for the focal point. And even the White House and the Democrats admit, because I know you're saying you're nonpartisan. I mean, I would guess you're more of a libertarian. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're just a freedom guy.
I can't be controlled. I cannot be controlled. There are no interests here but what I see as the world events. Period. That is the truth of the situation.
Well, they hate the fact that they can't control the agenda. The Pentagon has briefings with the head of PSYOPs, as you know, saying we've got to stop Drudge changing the subject and showing when we're lying. I mean, that's when you know. That's crazy town when you get. What is it like? Is it surreal to think back to something you started back in the early 90s has now grown into this?
Well, no, because it's been every day. So it just like it's happened so organically. It started with one reader. I don't know who that one reader was, but it started with one reader. I've never placed an ad anywhere, ever. This has all been a true organic reader to reader to reader to reader. Yes, I dabbled in the corporate with the Fox News show and the Clear Channel radio show for 9 years. But even that, the website was on its own terms and remains so to this very minute.
Well, you've only gotten bigger since you stopped.
Well, I don't know, because this is another thing. The measurements that we have, this is another bogus thing. Yesterday they released on the APA wire Twitter followers. Hillary is the queen of the Twitters with 4.9 million. They don't say how many are fake. They don't say how many are
They
droid.
admit the First Ladies is like 80% fake.
Well, no, the AP did not do that, Alex. So this whole thing, these socials, Beats One Music, which I'm obsessed with, which has been launched on Apple, which is probably one of the best things they've done since Steve Jobs died. One radio station. Interesting. They don't know how many listeners they have. I heard some streams they were down to 5,000 an hour. This whole social media stuff is bogus. Facebook, we have 2 billion users. This is garbage. This is designed to demoralize the individual. I'll never have 2 billion followers. The internet is what you make of it. It's the same battle as it was in the beginning. I remember having this argument with Brit Hume once live on C-SPAN. He goes, oh, the internet's all UFOs and all this crap. And I said, no, the internet is what you make of it. In the beginning, they were dismissing the internet. They were poo-pooing it.
And isn't that good for us that for so long they were in arrogant denial? And they seem like they still kind of are in arrogant denial.
No,
on
now
MSNBC.
they make it over in their image. Now it's these endless, monotonous tweets. Meaningless. To me, it's just a lot of gnats, a lot of confusion. When the reality of the situation is life on Earth has not changed. We need facts. We need events. We need specifics on things. Not all this confusion. It's almost they've made the internet over in their image, these corporations. And I think they're failing, quite frankly.
Skip the break. Oh, sorry, Matt, go ahead. I had to interrupt. You say you think they're failing?
I think they're failing to the point... This is a whole nother discussion on how sick are the American people right now. I've been saying they could put Hillary Clinton's brain in a jar in the Oval Office and she'd be elected. People are really sick. I think you know this deep in your soul, and this is why you get demoralized here on this very set.
Yeah, I shouldn't. Yeah.
People are sick. How they've got here, you've been on a wonderful arc over almost decades now, explaining why people are and have become so sick. That being said, people are willing to be made over in the image of these corporations. The reason there's so much anger online also is a newspaper like the Washington Post will leave a comment section. They don't care what you're saying. They don't care what you're thinking. That's why you get these anger that, I have to be, I'm out here as a citizen and I'm operating in their playground. Make your own playground. The reason I'm here, Alex, is you've made your own playground. This is a figment of your imagination. And the Drudge Report is mine. It is a very simple thesis. You are what you dream you are and become. And I wish Americans would get out of the sickness and just become greater. And
well, that's profound. I mean, because if we start creating our own maps, our own world, our own vision, then there's no way for these cultural tyrants to program us. And that's why they're pushing so hard to get more outrageous. I mean, is this the beginning of the end?
And to operate in their playgrounds. So you become famous on YouTube. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying you. I'm saying the 13-year-old that just died that they're saying is the first YouTube star that died. You're playing in Google's hell pit.
No, I agree, but I've invaded all those.
Make your own place. Make your own. The internet allows you to make your own dynamic, your own universe. Why are you gravitating towards somebody else's universe? And this is kind of, again, where Drudge to me, when I look at it right now, is a correction to this groupthink that has...
Oh, I totally agree with what you're saying.
There's no difference from any of these websites. You go up and down. We talk about this. What's the difference between the websites? Between a Slate or a Salon or a BuzzFeed or a HuffPo? What is the difference? There isn't any. And this is a travesty. It's almost like a weird conglomerate of groupthink that has developed in a dynamic era that should be vibrating. It should be vibrating. It should be controversial. But I guess it's fear. Not everybody is cut from the same genetic background as you or I, Alex, of being brave and being able to stand up. You're on the camera. I'm not. You're more brave than I am. So this is the dynamic that I'm in. I would just like to wake people up. Stop operating in their playground. Stop it.
Well, let me say this. I totally agree with you. I've tried. I couldn't pay for the bandwidth to put all of our videos out on our own platforms. Now we're doing that. at PrisonPlanet.tv and the Nightly News and putting ourselves, up on television to reach people, because it's kind of like jacking into the Matrix, going into their playground. I try to then claw them over here to see what we're trying to do, what you're trying to do. But I totally agree with you. The answer is for all of us to create our own systems, our own ideas, because vibrant, independent ideas will trump this corporate plastic Borg, this brainwashing they're trying to push. I mean, banning father and mother, banning the word husband and wife. I mean, that's so cultic that if I'd have been told 10 years ago they were going to ban words like that, I wouldn't have believed it. They do it with straight faces. I mean, has the left, and of course the controlled right as well, but have they gone collectively insane on a control freak bent, or is there a strategy?
I would also advise people to not waste their time on this. I had a Supreme Court justice tell me to my face, it's over for me. I said, Matt, it's over for you. They've got the votes now to enforce copyright law. You're out of there. They're going to make it so headlines you can't even use headlines. To have a Supreme Court justice say that to my face, that it's over. They've got the votes, which means time is limited. Time is not forever. How many more moons and sunrises will you see in your life rise and fall? There's not that many. It's a small amount. So for people to be saying with this attitude, oh, I'll get on with my life and my greatness sometime. No, you can't.
We're being enslaved now, and that's it. Under the TPP, they admit you can't put a headline to the New York Times. You're sending massive traffic to them. They're claiming you're taking their words. This is insane.
And you had the Justice Stephen Breyer said we need to look at a global law now. Remember, just recently
getting it lined up with it.
So they're getting ready for these decisions to come. You thought Obamacare was shocking. You thought some of these other decisions were shocking. Wait until these copyright laws work their way up and the Supreme Court decides you cannot have a website with news headlines linking across the board. Then that will end for me. Fine, I've had a hell of a run. It's 20 years next year, or 20 years about now. Hell of a run. I couldn't have gone any farther. I feel completely I have gone as far out of the galaxy as I can on this. I still want to stay out here, but I've gone pretty damn far for what one individual can do in this culture. But I'm talking about the future. So I don't know why they've been successful in pushing everybody into these little ghettos of these Facebooks and these tweets and these Instagrams, these Instas. This is ghetto. This is ghetto. This is corporate. They're taking your energy. They're taking your energy, and you're getting nothing in return. Nothing.
They're dumbing the language down. Twitter's designed to reduce the language directly out of 1984. It's ingsoc.
Right. Ultimately, it's boring, and the kids are always off to something new, except for the something new is owned by the same freaking company or financed by the same banking system. So I'm here to say, and this is the reason why I came to see you, Alex, is you are one of the very few who are operating under this theory to be an independent American in a big way. If your calling is media, fine. If your calling is sports, whatever it is, but you've got to be the greatest you can be now, before this country is so completely altered, and we're left with Hillary's brain in the Oval Office in a jar, because that's what we're getting. She's old and she's sick. She's not a contender. They're making her a contender with these propped up Saturday Night Live things. It's like a head on a stick. And then on the Today Show with the Guthrie, a head on a stick. She is not a viable, vibrant leader for this country of 300, including the illegals, 380 million Americans. So the media is trying to put us to sleep. You're not letting them, Alex.
Let me ask you this question, Matt. Yeah. Is the establishment, which we know is diverse, but there's different conglomerates, is it panicking? Is it trying to push everything through right now because it knows people are waking up? Or is it just completely arrogant and thinks it's invincible?
It's trying to consolidate control, yes, and there is a sense of panic about it. You look at a Telemundo or a Univision, they're kind of panicked. You look at some of these interviews that are happening this election cycle where Trump comes along, says a few things, just a few things, and soars to the top of the list. That's profound. Imagine if we actually had a good selection of candidates who are saying a lot. And I know Cruz and Rand and all the rest. However, you've got to be dynamic in this atmosphere, and it's a media country. You've got to be dynamic in media. That's the only thing that's going to work. So I am left with thinking there's not a lot of time to be your greatest self, especially online, because if it continues to get consolidated to this degree, and then we're moving into the robots, which you're so profound on, and it's going to get really ugly really fast. There's already automated news sites, Google News, hello, anybody? They actually, the idiots reading that crap think there is actually a human there. There is no human there. You are being programmed to being automated, even up to your news. And Apple News, I don't know what that's about. That was also creepy. A same corporate glaze over everything. I don't see the world that way. I live in a world that's free, colorful, vibrant, takes chances, bold, stands up to power. And that's where I've made my success.
Well, very eloquently said. I mean, really, if we don't affect the battle space, if we don't get involved in free speech now, that's all you, the listeners, all the Drudge fans of freedom, no matter what color you are, no matter what political bent, we're going to lose everything. We know what totalitarian looks like. We know what oppression looks like. We know what the dumb culture of totalitarianism smells like. This is it. It's happening now, and the future of the world is being decided. So get out there, make your own sites, take action. Because, Matt, you say you'll just go away if they do this. We all know we're going to fight it. We know they can't enforce it. Because if they can say that you can't even put a link up to a news site, then that ends free speech and basic communication. I mean, I know they got the Democrats out openly saying we need to bring in the fairness doctrine to the internet because of Matt Drudge, because you, quote, affect elections. Well, you're an American citizen that pays taxes, and you're allowed to be pro-gun.
Well, but if they get enough sick people to elect it, the demographics will take care of themselves. We had a story this morning that they're finally releasing an artist in Cuba who painted Raul and Fidel as a pig, jailed without trial for 18 months.
Look at Germany, where they're arresting people that criticize open borders. Look, you've been...
So it's already happening. I'm just warning this country that, yes, don't get into this false sense that you are an individual when you're on Facebook. No, you're not. You're a pawn in their scheme.
Stay there. We got to come right back for a few more minutes and say bye. This is incredible. Well, I tell you, a lot of energy entered the building, and there's already a lot of energy in this building. A lot of smiles with Matt Drudge here. Don, I guess, went to the door, and we say don't let strangers in, but it was no stranger. Matt Drudge here in studio with us, and characteristically, very kind of like Peter Pan, hard to catch, hard to find, moves quick. He is right over there in the dark with a handheld microphone. And of course, the conspiracy theories will begin that this isn't really Matt Drudge, but people can tell it is Matt Drudge. I've seen a lot of his speeches, heard him pop in on shows here and there. And it's always eloquent, always thought-provoking. This is particularly thought-provoking and will be a big newsmaker. They will attempt to control reality and say, how dare Matt Drudge hang out with that heretic Alex Jones? And we're always hearing the last 6-7 years that Matt Drudge is over, Matt Drudge doesn't exist, but then they have to admit Matt Drudge is bigger than ever. So this attempt to control reality or control who talks to who by these totalitarians that masquerade as liberals, I don't think is working. And now with Boehner being forced out, I think it shows the rumblings of the Tea Party beneath the surface. So, Matt, before you leave us, and I really appreciate your time.
And by the way, the presidential candidates, that's exactly what you're saying, the rumblings. Look at anybody who has any form of success in the polls is because they rumble. Where it's going to end up, I don't know. I'm very pessimistic. I'm very pessimistic on this race because I'm just not so sure it's not going to end up with the dreaded brain in the jar in the Oval Office, once known as Hillary Clinton, who is hypothyroid. Anybody who is 70 years old who's hypothyroid, you do not elect president, ladies and gentlemen. You don't do it. Now, they'll say, well, it has to be who her VP is, whether it's the Castro from San Antonio or the other Castro from San Antonio or the other Castro from San Antonio, whoever it's going to be. I'm just shaking now after seeing NBC giving her endless hours of airtime over the past 72 hours that Hillary's back, and she's back for real. Now, what that means to you or me, what it means to me, I've got a long history with these people. They're ugly. They play dirty. They sued me for $30 million last time around with the approval of the president, announced by the press secretary of the White House, a civil action. These people, and they didn't have the NSA then. They had Echelon. They had all these other things you were talking about even then. Hillary Clinton with the NSA, good luck if you dissent. Good luck if you dissent. Snowden, I'll switch places with you. you can come over here and rot in hell, because that's what it's going to be. So I'm very concerned with the lay of the land, but the rumblings you're talking about, that we see in a Trump, that we see in a Carly, that do we see in a Sanders? Yeah, maybe. Also old. Can the Democrats find anybody under the age of 70? What is this oldness in a vibrant country that needs to go forward to a new century? So I don't know. I'm hoping for surprises. I'm hoping for some jolts. We'll have to see.
On a few other subjects, and I appreciate your time, I'll quit bugging you. There is so much going on in the world. Obama now is talking about, well, Australia had a good plan. We may have to do that. That's clearly talking about gun confiscation. Now Hillary's doing it. CNN has pundits just saying, let's just take them. Do these people realize that this is the line in the sand at the Alamo? If they really come out in a frontal assault on guns, it means I think they're trying to start a civil war. It just seems like insanity. I mean, they may think that they're Stalin or something.
Well, because they're all armed themselves, or they all have that security around them themselves. They don't have to worry about. I challenge Hillary. Take away your Secret Service. Take it away now. Take away your Secret Service. Dismiss them. Have no security around you. Have no guns around you, Hillary. I dare you. I dare you. Obama, same thing. Drop your guns, Obama. Take your Secret Service away, Obama. Take it all away. Leave the White House unguarded, Obama. Let everybody know there's no guns on the White House grounds, Obama. You know what would happen in 30 seconds? Both of those people would no longer be on planet Earth. So they're asking us to drop our guns and to drop our security measures, or what? So this thing is very real, and I don't see how it's being taken seriously, except for the sick voter. You can't underestimate the sickness of the American people right now. They're really sick. And that's, to me, I'm more angry at the sick Americans than I am at Obama or Hillary. I'm really angry at the sick Americans.
Matt Drudge, I used to listen to your radio show almost every Sunday, but I got to tell you, you are even more on fire than you were then. And I know you're smart, you know, not to be, too available, because distance makes the heart grow fond. And I tell you, but it would be great if even once a week you did like an hour podcast or something, or maybe once a month with these thoughts. Because let me tell you, this is some really good radio, and I'm enjoying it. And I know the audience is. I mean, Matt Drudge is kind of co-hosting the Alex Jones Show right now. This is crazy.
Oh, maybe I'll join Facebook.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
No, I can't. I realize that just my personality is that I've got to stay focused. I can't be too distracted.
No, your advice to me was right, like a year ago, that don't try to do too much. I mean, you're right.
Through Paul Joseph Watson, I told him, watch out for this. It's a larger topic, but at my height of media availability, I was doing the website, the TV show, and the radio show at the same time, as you are doing now. Mine was with the corporations, Clear Channel, News Corp, and then the Drudge Report. But still, I felt just myself, I felt it was just more powerful to go to the web, plus not to necessarily be playing in their playground. Because the power of the individual, as you represent sitting there right now, is powerful to the heart. I said to Paul Joseph Watson when I saw him in London, which you just referred to a year ago, you're a romantic figure, Alex, in Americana. It's romantic what you do here every day. It just is. This is romance, because you're an American standing up, tough, facing these headwinds. Wow, are they blowing? But you're there, and and you're not alone. Limbaugh, Savage, Hannity, Levin. There's a lot of people on the airwaves who are as brave. They are brave. And they are living it. I've met them all. I'm friends with them all. They are also operating against the grain in an America that needs to go back to that.
Well, the system's tried to put some of them in jail. I mean, I know a lot of those folks don't talk about the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I don't either. But, these people play hardball. And some folks can say who are libertarians, well, those folks don't sound libertarian enough to me. It doesn't matter. The globalists, the Democrats, the collectivists hate anybody who's conservative, anybody who believes in the individual. And the fact is, those people promote individualism, nationalism, and that's why they've got to be eradicated. What a horrible world if the system is successful. Matt Drudge, in your gut, in your heart, do you think that humanity is going to be successful and make it the next 100 years?
Oh, the 100 years? Well, of course, unless Mother Nature decides. You know, I'm a big fan of letting Mother Nature decide some of this, too. You know, we can't control a lot of this. There is a law to the universe. There just is. There's just a law to the universe. We could have the San Andreas Rip tonight. You had nothing to do with that. We could have had that super hurricane that, look what they did to South Carolina, 200 or 300 miles offshore. Imagine if a Category 5 eye wall went right up the Chesapeake Bay. They could say, well, mankind did that. No, Mother Nature decides. So will we survive? I'm sure we will. What will we be not allowed to speak as we are today? Well, we'll have it documented that we were allowed to speak that way once. So I don't know. Am I optimistic? For myself, personally, yes, I'm strong. There's not much they can do. They could laser beam me. They could drone me. They can plutonium me. They could do whatever they wanted. But spiritually, I'm set. I've already got it. So they can't do much. I just wish there was more media that was trailblazing and independent. And this, to me, is a big danger right now in this setup, is you've got these corporations like the New York Times and the Amazon now with the Washington Post and Time Warner, and all of them seem to be the same. This is what's frightening. And there's so much news in the course of the day. And the reason I think the Drudge Report is interesting every morning is it's not exactly the same as you would see elsewhere. And that's because I'm not involved with other people. I'm looking at the world through my eyes, and that's what you're seeing, with bravery and with the ability to do it. Because the ability to do it, what you've created here with one listener one day that went to 10 listeners, that went to 50, to now your millions, was organically grown. And that's kind of how Earth proceeds.
And it usually takes time. You're absolutely right. Looking at the open announcements by the Pope for world government, carbon taxes, looking for Obama announcing similar things, they've gone from denying this planetary systems being set up to now admitting it. We've got all these key meetings, TPP being agreed on just a few days ago. How is that affecting the people that were brainwashed and told none of this was happening? How are they going to respond now when all of this starts coming to fruition?
I've been traveling a lot, and I'm seeing a lot of desperation everywhere, a lot of sad desperation. I was just in an airport, and even down to this, a woman selling Southwest Airlines credit cards, standing like a robot. Have you signed up yet? Are you a member of the club? It was tragic. This is a mature woman with a beautiful face and life, and I'm like, how did she get there? What has happened to this culture that she's now standing as a robot like this? They are sucking our ability to make an income that is compatible with what you need to. So I'm getting a little frightened as I travel. On the other side of it, when I go to New York and I see some of the billionaires, it's the other side, endless. You know, they're fighting over pieces of artwork. It's gotten to the point where the have and the have-nots here is breaking. So
it's the billionaires that are mainly funding the whole leftist redistribution movement because they end up getting the money in corporate welfare and insider deals. It's so sick. I watched a great film. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's The Best of Enemies about Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley. Have you seen that yet?
No.
You've got to see it. And it shows Gore Vidal arguing, saying the answer.
Oh, and by the way, why are we not allowed to have a Gore Vidal, William Buckley anymore in the media scene? Do you see who they hire? Do you see who's hired for the shows? How dull they are?
Yes.
Dull as dishwater.
They want you to tune out of politics and into entertainment.
Yes, they make it. Where are the flamboyant characters? This is what America desperately needs right now. Flamboyant, intellectual characters who can cut different ways. And that's just what I'm missing. I've been fortunate enough to meet some of the greats of this generation, and I've got to tell you, they are there. It's just they are suppressed and hidden, and they're not hired the way Gore Vidal and Buckley were back a previous generation. They were not afraid of ideas. This generation is frightened of ideas, or at least it's being suppressed.
Let's throw in the few minutes we have left. We're about to go to break, and I know you've given us more time than you even said you would. Matt Drudge is our guest, DrudgeReport.com, obviously in studio here in Austin, Texas, visiting a surprise visit, one of the best ever. That's better than the surprise birthday parties I've had. Shifting gears, I don't think that it's Putin's this great angel or this wonderful, perfect person, but our foreign policy is so corrupt, so deceptive, it makes him look good, and nobody's going to back al-Qaeda. I talked about this last Thursday and Friday, and I'll find the article and we'll put it in this video later and put it out as a report. But it was Reuters reporting that the White House is angry that these airstrikes by the Russians have hit the moderates, al-Nusra, which is al-Qaeda in Syria. And then it just went on, and they're telling him to stop doing it, and he didn't hit ISIS. But then Putin pointed out, no, that's the bosses of ISIS. That's just their fighters. It's the same group, which is true. But it's Twilight Zone. I can't even believe I'm reading Reuters, who has writers with a straight face that will just sit there and write articles about how al-Qaeda is moderate and not bad, and then we criticize Russia for bombing them when they're attacking Russian interest. It's just so bizarre. It seems like that Karl Rove quote where he said, we control reality. I don't think Obama and these guys really control reality. And now we've got John McCain saying, let's go ahead and end Zbigniew Brzezinski and have war with Russia. Let's go ahead and attack the Russian aircraft. I mean, it's crazy town. What do you say to that?
Well, I'll say this. We never even heard of ISIS until recently. And I remember when that name first started coming up. Do you know it was designed to be confused with Darrell Issa?
No, I didn't know that.
Did you know that's what it was? Because Darrell Issa was the enemy at the time of this administration. You know, there would have been a time Obama could have been impeached. And I'm thinking of the IRS scandal most likely. That would have been the one. You get the depositions going. You get the president under oath. You follow the chain. Obama most likely would have been impeached. Boehner decided, we're not going there. We're not going to have those cities burn. We're not going to do it. We're not going to impeach Obama. So I felt Darrell Issa, that's his name, right? Because I'm getting all Issa. Darrell Issa. I think they came up with the name ISIS to be confused with Darrell Issa. I'm really being honest with you. I remember when the first time Christiane Amanpour sputtered out this word ISIS. I'm thinking, where did she get that one? You know, these words are creative. These events are creative. Now we act like, oh, ISIS has been around for 20 or 30 years. Says who?
It's been around a year and a half.
Yeah. Designed to confuse, and then the president going, it's not even ISIS, it's ISIL, or ICE.
Or ISIL.
Or IS. This is Dr. Seuss. This is madness. So I'm glad you're able to follow any of it, because when I sit down and look at the news, I'm not able to follow the bouncing ball. Is Putin here? Is Obama here? Where does this one go? I can't follow. Can you put the pieces together? I'm glad you can, because I can't.
Wow. Well, we're going to break here in about a minute and a half, and then I'm going to come back and play a special report. They're going to go into the fourth hour, being hosted by one of our co-hosts today. But, Matt, in the 2 minutes we've got left, it's amazing to have you here. What else do you think's front and center in the universe? In the last 2 minutes here, what do you want to say to the audience and to the dinosaur media that is going to gleefully try to edit this and chop this up and, I guess, use it for their funeral pyre?
Well, they're welcome to. Again, they've got no control over the situation. None. No control. No control over me, sorry. Zero. I wanted to congratulate you. You one of the, and people don't really talk about this, you were one of the first to stream 24 hours a day. And I think the reason I was drawn into InfoWars was because of this streaming. This is a profound break that you did to allow the audience to hear you at any time, to make it available at any time, from anywhere, looping until the next broadcast. This is a profound thing you did. I don't think that's recognized enough in the industry. I'm just talking shop talk here for a second. That was big, because what you're seeing with the AM dial now, and I'm not besmirching any stations that are carrying this right now, but some of these ratings are frightening. Some of these ratings in these major cities are frightening. I'm talking about half the listeners generally overall for every talk host. Some of them are down a half in 1 year. Something is going on, but you broke through with this 24-hour looping, always available. On my happiest nights, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you from wherever I am in the world. Looping, getting it, and the guests. This is a profound shift. Available anytime from anywhere.
Well, that was
like, you, Alex. That was a big
like 12 years ago. I said, why do we just send the stream out once? And then wait for a podcast to come up before they even called it podcast, which is an MP3.
So organically yet again, another organically grown decision that changed the media landscape.
Well, sure, and I said, why not just have, I don't want to just have, because I was one of the first, people were doing this 20 years ago, Limbaugh was probably the first, with a little, pod cam that took a photo every minute or something. I said, why don't we just put cameras in here so I can show people articles, show them photos, show them books, and even show them video clips, and then we'll start streaming it.
And by the way, Limbaugh was genius for doing that, because he bypassed broadcast. he didn't have to hook up with a Fox or a CNN to show him in real time. He was able to bypass that. And I think there was some cams for radio shows before that.
Sure.
But he did it on the larger scale. But what you did by breaking the mold, whatever you said that day, like, why don't we loop it? I can't tell you how that's changed.
Well,
And
also,
I would say the majority of your listeners have, and will discover you through the looping and the broadcast, because now we can drive around and listen to you without the streaming, even though it seems like the streaming is where things are going. I got to say, when you broke the egg there, when you cracked the egg, that was a big one. That was a Stanley Kubrick moment of the bone going up. What you did with that one. So that was a big one.
I don't think it's as big as the bones you've been throwing up that turn into the spaceships, but I tell you, it's amazing to just have the diverse audience that tunes in to hear me babble. Speak of the devil, like people like Stanley Kubrick's daughter and folks that have popped up too, and you're like, you check it out and go, this is really Stanley Kubrick's daughter that helped make some of his films. It just blows your mind.
By the way, if Stanley Kubrick was alive, can you imagine? Can you imagine where he would have gone? He would have done some great work.
Oh.
We're missing the Hollywood push too. Where's the greatness coming out of Hollywood?
They want it dumbed down. I've talked to top
enough of the Martian crap. Telling something big and real and profound, as Kubrick would have, on a human level.
Well, I'm not allowed to say what I was told about Kubrick, but let me say, it was obvious from his films, he was be on board with us. He was.
You know, Spielberg keeps going back to World War II. I mean, enough already. Let's get focused. I look at a P.T. Anderson, and I don't know, it's kind of gone into a marijuana cloud for me. Where are the artists who are challenging this generation like Kubrick did? So that's another topic separately. But anyway.
Well, we're going to break in 1 minute. We're going to air John Bound's report, come back. And who's hosting the fourth hour today? I'm so thunderstruck that David Knight's got a bunch coming up. And obviously we need to get clips of this epic interview, play those, and put those out on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And Matt, how fast do you think? Here's what's crazy. 5 years ago, I cared if mainstream media wrote stories against us, or I cared if I was on Nightline or something. You've been in more big stuff than I have. Now it doesn't even do anything when I'm on those shows. That's why I know that they don't mean anything. And so we should end with this. You were the guy who tweeted, at least from what I saw, at Piers Morgan 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, to say, have Alex Jones on, debate him.
Matchmaker, yeah, behind the scenes.
An excellent interview with Matt Drudge.
Matchmaker behind the scenes.
And thus, I think we will come to an end of the very first live episode of the Sit and Spin radio show. You'll be able to catch it now every Monday night live on RockyD.com from 7 to 9 p.m. and then also KineticHiFi.com Friday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. as well. Make sure to check out Spreaker.com, SPREAKER.com. Search for the Sit and Spin Radio Network for all the archives if you missed any of the show. And also check out Facebook, Sit and Spin Radio Network. And Nicholas O'Kelly is my name. You can check me out as well on Facebook to get updates on show topics and when the show is going to be on, so on and so forth. I believe Lester Young will take us out for the end of this first live episode, and we thank you for joining us here. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to cover climate change on Friday night and how that's affecting the economy, the overall shutdown of the coal production plants, and also how that sort of yields itself well to the plan of the New World Order. And also Russia, as I mentioned briefly on tonight's episode, coming to the forefront as terror hunters. Could this be Armageddon? Could Russia now, son of Magog, be bringing on Armageddon, which will usher in a war on Israel by uniting all of the European nations? It's a big topic, and it's something to ponder as we go forth into the evening. I'm Nick O'Kelly. You've been listening to the Sit and Spin Radio Show, and we'll see you next time. RockyD.com.